Welcome back, my little lambs. It's time for another episode of NT Sheep's Digital Wonderlands. Welcome back, my little lambs. This was another challenging one. I died multiple times because of all sorts of glitches and just getting overwhelmed. There's one spot where there's several biomechs that you have to face off against, and you really don't have any good weapons. My special attack, while it does a bunch of damage, I'm not getting the reward from using it on the biomechs. I took out several using it, and the reward did not unlock. It took me about almost an hour of playing just to get this 20 plus minutes of usable game footage and be able to progress along to the next point. So, without further ado, we are going back in for more Bionic Commando fun. Let's get to it. So it took me about 6 or 7 tries before I finally was able to defeat all these darn robots and take out the anti-aircraft cannon that's here. There's a weapon pod drop, and you'll get a grenade launcher from it. If you're lucky, you'll be able to have enough shots to definitely take out one of the robots. You'll be able to take out the second one's health pretty darn good, and you should be able to finish it off with a special attack if you've got one charged up. The biggest problem is as you get near the anti-aircraft cannon, a third one shows up. And I don't know if it was a good AI program that kept it, staying just out of range for me being able to do anything, or if it was glitched somehow, but it seemed like it was constantly getting stuck up in the air. If it landed, you could try and get close to it, but then it'd jump right back up. So I really had some trouble fighting these darn things off, and that's one of the things that took the most amount of time. But we did manage to make it through, so we're going to go ahead and take care of everything we've got here, and then we're going to be moving on to the next area. this is where a third mech comes in, and unfortunately I've got no grenades left for the grenade launcher. I've got like one of the hand grenades I can try and throw, and I'm getting low on ammo. Now, if I tried going back to the other part of the roof, some of those barrels, I don't know, I might have been able to sit there and use them for attacks. But this just ended up turning into one heck of a standoff. The robot on one side of the artillery cannon, me on the other, and us trying to get close enough to each other to get some sort of attack in. This is about the only time I was able to get some good attacks in on this mech. It would do this forward dashing attack and get itself stuck on things, like in this case the artillery cannon, and that would give me just enough of an opportunity to try and get on its back and do some damage. It's finally gone down, so now we can disable the cannon, All we got to do is latch onto its control panel with our arm and rip it off, and then we can hack into the relay. After we get that taken care of, we're going to backtrack all the way to the starting point and then start going to the other side of this harbor where there's another cannon and a couple of mechs. They're going to be a little bit easier to deal with. We're going to be getting some better weapon pod drops, and we've also got some good cover and some tall buildings that we can climb up and get some good charge drops on. So let's go ahead and get this stuff taken care of.
We're uploading new directions.
This is where we're going to be facing off against more mechs, and they do seem to have a bit of a search pattern, so if you can hide and avoid being detected, you should be able to get pretty close to them to where you might be able to get in a sneak attack or two and do some good damage to them. There's going to be a good weapon drop, and again, like I mentioned before, we've got these buildings that we can climb up on. Really, the biggest threat over on this side is going to be all the soldiers on the bottom running around and shooting up at you. They're going to sit there and be able to move around more than the mechs, so even when you're climbing up the side of a building, they'll be able to run around and target you. So you definitely want to make sure you take them out as quick as possible while avoiding the mechs. And then, once you've got the soldiers cleared out, or at least enough of them knocked down to where they're not as much of a threat, you can focus on the mechs more. There's a couple of soldiers and one mech left, and this mech is actually being pretty darn smart. It's taken a sniper position and is taking shots at us with its heavy beam cannon, and we can use the buildings to our advantage though. We'll be able to sneak up closer in between its shots, and then eventually it's not going to be able to aim down towards us as we're running towards the building that it's standing on. This will give us a chance to climb the side of it and get up top and hopefully take it out. Okay, so good news, bad news there. We managed to take the mech out. Good news. Again, we used our finishing move, which we know is a challenge, but it didn't unlock. I don't know if that part challenge is broken or something in this game. I may have to try looking that up later, but luckily there's no more enemies around here, so we're going to go down and take out this last of anti-aircraft cannon and also disable the relay that's down here, because there's some floating mines that we're going to have to use to get across to an oil platform. That's also going to be bringing us to the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching, my little lambs, and hope to see you again next time in the Digital Wonderlands.